In the name of Allah, most gracious, most merciful. Praise be to Allah, the cherisher and sustainer of the worlds, most gracious, most merciful. Master of the Day of Judgment. Thee do we worship, and thine aid we seek. Show us the straight way. The way of those on whom thou hast bestowed thy grace, those whose portion is not wrath, and who go not astray. Fatiha 1:1-7. Hence, Islam equally fulfills the needs of faith and reason. It protects man from that which harms his life and his possessions as well as the health of younger generations. The benefits of Islam can be summarized as follows. The finest religion of faith. Islam provides the best mode of faith while protecting the honor of man from heretical beliefs such as the worship of idols. Islam nurtures the soul of man through acts of worship. The kinds of worship in Islam address both the soul and the body since their performance involves both body and soul. Those fulfilling the obligations of Islam live paradisiacally in this very world. Islam is a religion of mercy. Islam strives to carry man to felicity and the mercy of Allah, although most of his acts more nearly deserve destruction and punishment. Allah, the Almighty, states that his mercy exceeds his wrath. Narrated Abu Huraira. The Prophet, J, said, when Allah created the creation, he wrote in his book and he wrote, that, about himself, and it is placed with him on the throne, verily my mercy overcomes my anger. Bukhari. Volume 9, Book 93, number 501. 481,838,059,944,000. The Basmala, which is mentioned in the beginning of the every chapter, involves the names of Allah which enlighten his attribute of mercy. In the name of Allah, most gracious, most merciful. These two attributes are also mentioned in the first chapter of the Quran in its second verse. N17. 948690106045000 ISLAM. Spirit and Form. N18. All praise is due to Allah, the Lord of the worlds. Most gracious, most merciful, Al-Rahman, meaning compassionate, merciful. The first two verses of this chapter inform us that due to his mercy Allah taught us the Quran. The beneficent Allah, it is he who has taught the Quran. Rahman, 55. 1-2. These verses signify in addition that the content of the Quran is also a mercy for humanity. In the chapter Isra this reality is clearly stated. We send down, stage by stage, in the Quran that which is a healing and a mercy to those who believe. To the unjust it causes nothing but loss after loss. Isra, 17-82. Not only is the Quran a mercy for humanity, but this is also true for the Prophet of Islam who transmitted the Quran. We sent thee not, but as a mercy for all creatures. Anbiya, 21-107. As a matter of fact, this reality has been proven in the life of the Prophet, J, since he never cursed those who harmed him. In the town Taif he was stoned and left bleeding due to injuries. Angels such as Gabriel came to him and told him that he could destroy the inhabitants of this town due to their mistreatment of him. The Prophet, J, did not accept this offer and answered, "No, I do not want such a thing. I am a prophet of mercy." He even prayed to Allah for their guidance and well-being. We can conclude that the first fruit of Islam is mercy. The friends of Allah who followed this golden rule summarized servanthood to Allah in two principles. Tazim li Amrillah. To fulfill the commandments of Allah with full reverence. Shafkat li Halkillah. To show mercy to the creation of Allah. 81,343,592,075,000. Islam is a religion of rationality. Although Islam is not a product of human intelligence and reason, since both religion and logic are gifts of the Creator, there is no reason they should be mutually exclusive. Islam guides the human mind to the most useful and productive states, hence enabling man to lead a balanced life without falling into extremes. 123,888,522,669,500. 2802255971550 Islam and its sublime nature. In other words, human rationality can find its full expression in belief in the unity of Allah, and He implores us to use our logic and rational faculties at many points in the Quran. Afala takilan? Do you not contemplate? The Prophet, J. also invites us to use our mind and contemplate upon the purpose of life. Comparing the reward of worship and contemplation, he says, an hour of contemplation is more valuable than 60 years of worship. The human mind has been created as a vehicle to take man to Allah and guidance. It is the interpreter of the divine realities. Islam is a religion of love. Mere rationality is not enough in guiding man to divine realities. At times rationality is incapable of guiding man to Allah. Instead, it takes him into a pit of doubts. Hence it is necessary for rationality to be under the rule of love and to enlighten it with love. Rumi says, "He that is blessed and familiar with spiritual mysteries knows that intelligence is of Iblis while love is of Adam." Masnawi 3, 1402. Love is as a ship for the elect. Seldom is calamity the result. For the most part it is deliverance. Masnawi 3, 1406. Those individuals, like philosophers, who rely on intelligence as their guide become slaves of their external senses. They serve what their eyes see and what their ears hear without normally reminding themselves of the hidden. Reason may know Allah through love, whereas it alone is only an instrument whereby love may reach to the Creator. Love engenders sacrifice. A believer who loves his Lord may even give up his life in the path of Allah. The companions of the Prophet J. sacrificed everything in the path of Allah and His Prophet and thus reached the highest station in the history of mankind. Whenever the Prophet J. requested something from them, they replied, "My father and mother have been sacrificed for you." Hence, Islam is a religion of the heart rather than merely a religion of reason. It aims first to reach the heart of man. It is also a religion of 48183802540056324540830500 equilibrium. The most fundamental aspect of Islam is that it involves N19. 948690106045000 ISLAM. Spirit and form. N20. Balance between the two worlds. As Allah has created the universe in complete harmony and order, similarly Islam has provided a road to equilibrium in the life of man. Islam has brought balance between this world and the hereafter, between body and soul, between men and women, poor and rich, the ruled and the ruler, and too between matter and spirit. These seeming opposites have been transformed into complements through Islam. Islam does not sacrifice or ignore the otherworld for this world, or the body for the spirit. Islam removes the conflict between them and in its place establishes harmony. Through these wings man can fly to higher worlds. Islam is a religion of knowledge and wisdom. Islam is not a religion fit for the ignorant. On the contrary, Islam is the last and perfect religion that has been sent to fight ignorance. Therefore, the Quran states that knowledge is the most important condition of being a pious and worthy believer. Those truly fear Allah among His servants, who have knowledge, for Allah is exalted in might, oft forgiving. Fatir, 35-28. Prophet Muhammad, J. says, "The superiority of a scholar over a worshipper is like my superiority over the one who occupies the lowest rank among you." Abu Dawud, ILM, 1. Nevertheless, Islam joins knowledge and wisdom. Knowledge without wisdom harms mankind more than it benefits. As an example, knowledge of medicine without wisdom can be used to kill rather than cure. Therefore the Prophet, J. warns, "Whoever increases his knowledge without increasing his asceticism and fear of Allah distances him." Self from Allah. Kanz al-Irfan, 62. Islam is a religion of high morality. Man is envisaged as the peak of creation. He is the vicegerent of Allah on earth. Although he was created out of earth, Allah blew His spirit into his body. The Holy Quran draws our attention to this fact and warns us not to let our souls be contaminated by our base desires. It advises man to purify his soul from vices and to reach Allah with a pure heart. Prophet Muhammad, J. is the best example of one who has achieved this great purpose. 813,435,952,500 and has attained to the summit of morality. He has even stated that 123,888,522,923,500 2802255971550 Islam and its sublime nature. One of the main purposes of his prophethood was to exhibit the finest example of morality. Indeed, I was sent to complete the perfection of morality. Muwatta, al-Hulk, 7. The Quran bears witnesses to this fact and praises him with the following verse. And thou standest on an exalted standard of character. Column 68-4. The companions of the Prophet, J, were living witnesses of his bashfulness. He was even more bashful than a veiled young girl. In order to clarify the significance of bashfulness, i.e. from Allah, he said, bashfulness and faith go hand in hand. If one leaves, man, the other follows, suit. Suyuti, Jamayuz Sagir, I, 53. The following words of Jalaluddin Rumi illuminate the importance of haya, i.e. feeling bashful when a sin is committed, in relation to faith. I asked my mind, what is faith? My mind answered my heart. Faith is nothing but good conduct, adab. Therefore those who have no adab will be further away from the mercy of Allah. Islam is a religion of kindness and good behavior. According to the Prophet, J, kindness which is not given adequate significance by the majority of people will be taken very seriously on the day of judgment. The Prophet, J, whose example is the best in all aspects of life, also has left us with the best example of kindness. When he noticed any of his companions performing a wrongdoing, he would correct it without insulting the responsible one. Instead of directly addressing the wrongdoer, he would address the public. What has occurred is that I have seen some people doing this or that, and by introducing the topic in this fashion he would veil the responsible one. Islam is a religion of justice. One of the fundamental concepts that Islam emphasizes on all occasions is the concept of justice and law. According to Islam, the most unforgivable sin beyond associating partners with Allah is to violate the rights of other. The Prophet, J, Dur. 48183806350056324538925500 in his worst period of illness, leading up to his death, emphasized the N21. 948690106045000 ISLAM. Spirit and form. N22. Significance of respecting the rights of others by personally going to the mosque and asking to settle any unfulfilled rights by saying, O my companions, if I have taken the possessions of any of you by mistake, these are my possessions, let him take it. If I have hit the back of any of you by mistake, this is my back. Let him hit me and take his revenge. Asim Koksal, Islam Tarihi, v. 2, page 38. The Islamic concept of justice, which was established on such a strong foundation, has reached to the peak of perfection and fills any scholar who studies it with admiration. After examining all systems of law, the French philosopher Lafayette, who had a significant role in forming the ideological background of the French Revolution, expressed as follows, O Muhammad, no one reached to your level in bringing justice among people. The history of Islam is full of anecdotes proving the place of justice in Islamic societies. One day a man bought a horse from the market. Although the horse was young and strong, it died 3 days after the purchase. The buyer was suspicious that the seller had poisoned the horse since he may have wanted to hurt him due to a personal conflict they had had between them. He went to the court for 3 days but the judge was away. Consequently, the man took the dead horse to a veterinarian. The veterinarian's findings proved that the man was justified in his suspicions. When the judge returned from his trip, the buyer of the horse went to the judge again. The judge told him, "Why did you not come to me in the first place so as to enable us to see the signs of the horse?" The complainer replied, "Sir, I have come to you for 3 days running but you were absent." The judge answered, "You are right. My mother had passed away and I traveled to my hometown in order to be present for her funeral." After contemplating a moment, the judge turned to the secretary and pronounced his verdict. The matter was solved in the following way. Absence of the judge from the court resulted in a loss for the plaintiff. Hence, the damages suffered by the plaintiff will be reimbursed by the judge. 81,343,542,354,500 In short, Islam is a religion of justice both materially and spiritually. Therefore, in the past, our ancestors termed people Muslims without religion if they were non-converts who respected justice and behaved. 123,888,522,479,000. 2802255971550 Islam and its sublime nature. 4,818,380,748,347,500 righteously. On the other hand, those Muslims who did not behave justly were referred to as disbelieving Muslims. Islam, when it is practiced sincerely, is capable of purifying the human soul of all sorts of imperfection. Only Islam can transform individuals who have fallen prey to their base desires, from the lowliest of the low stations to the greatest of statures. The Prophet, J. states, if a servant of Allah accepts Islam and practices it, all his past good deeds are valued and all his past sins are deleted. From then on, all his good deeds are rewarded from 10 to 700-fold. However, his sin is only written one time, in the account book of the slave, unless Allah forgives it completely. From the very early days of the religion there have always been those who have been unwilling to accept its guidance and instead have preferred to follow their base desires as the slaves of Satan. There are many examples of this in the history of Islam. Although the Meccans admitted the trustworthiness of the Prophet Muhammad, many of them refused to accept his life-giving message. They understood the reality of Islam through their consciousness but unfortunately were dominated by their base desires. Thus they fell into the pit of disbelief. Also, the Jews and the Christians for centuries had been foretelling the coming of Prophet Muhammad, but since he ultimately came from a different nation and they were dominated by their nationalism and racist bigotry, they refused to accept him. In particular, the Jews surpassed others in their rejection of Islam since they had a long history of rejecting prophets and killing them. The following incident demonstrates this fact with great clarity. Once the Prophet, read the Jews the following verses from the Quran. But if they dispute with you, say, I have submitted myself entirely to Allah and, so, every one who follows me. And say to those who have been given the book and the unlearned people, do you submit yourselves? So if they submit then indeed they follow the right way. And if they turn back, then upon you is only the delivery of the message and Allah sees the servants. Al-Imran, 320. After he recited this verse to them he asked, do you accept Islam? N23. 948690106045000 ISLAM. Spirit and Form. N24. The Jews said, yes, we accept. Upon this the Prophet, asked the following question. Do you also accept that Jesus, is Allah's word, his slave and his messenger? They answered, no, may Allah protect us from such a mistake. Hence, by rejecting Jesus, as a prophet of Allah, they became among the unfortunate infidels. He asked the Christians, do you bear witness that Jesus, is Allah's word and his messenger? The Christians said, how is it possible that Jesus, is a creature of Allah, he is the son of Allah. On another occasion, the Prophet, went to a school of Jewish scholars and invited them to Islam. Nuaym b. Harith and Zayd asked him, what is your religion? The Prophet, answered, I am of the religion of Abraham. Upon hearing this answer, they claimed, Abraham was a Jew. The Prophet, said, in that case shall we accept the Torah as our arbitrator? They Jews hesitated and did not accept this offer. They had a famous scholar whose name was Abdullah b. Salam. They always praised him for his knowledge. However, when he accepted Islam they forgot about their praise for him and started cursing him. They altered the chapters that foretold the advent of Prophet Muhammad. The Quran in addressing this issue states, 81,343,520,637,500 inches woe. Then, to those who write the book with their hands and then say, this is from Allah, so that they may take for it a small price. 123,888,523,177,500. 2802255971550 Islam and its sublime nature. Therefore woe to them for what their hands have written and woe to them for what they earn. Baqarah, 2-79. Of the Jews there are those who displace words from their right places. Nisa, 5:46. Maida, 4:13. These activities demonstrate that the Jews and the Christians altered their religions according to their desires, thus destroying the authentic nature of their teachings. Today, the oldest copy of the Torah dates back to the 9th century before Christ. Consequently, there is a great deal of time separating Moses from the period when the Torah was compiled. Those who call for reforms in Islam, unfortunately have the same purpose. As before, they conceal their hidden aims with nice words. The human mind cannot wholly understand either the wisdom or the hidden purposes behind the universe because it has been created by the omnipotence and omniscience of Allah. Allah knows best the nature of man since he created him. Hence his commandments and restrictions concerning the life of man are in accordance with his nature. A mind that has not been molded by divine revelation is incapable of comprehending these realities. A healthy mind will ultimately never deny the fact that the Creator knows best his creation and is thus capable of leading him to the way of life best fit for him. We can say that Islam is the only religion ideally molded to his nature. Allah the Almighty through his boundless mercy has sent human Islam as a universal religion. In Islam he has designed an ideal and comprehensive system for living. As a religion, Islam is capable of answer any question concerning life that may appear in the mind of man. As an example, dreams transcend the reality of our physical lives since they reside in our minds. Even so, Islam evaluates dreams and grants verdicts as to their meanings. Any value system upon which laws are based that has ignored any feature in the fundamental nature of man will be rejected by human nature and will be ultimately ignored by him. As an example, Catholics ignore the need to have a family and forbid monks and nuns from marrying. Such a law conflicts with human nature and in the end leads man towards disobedience. Human nature contains changeable and unchangeable features. 4818380577850056324544406900 Religious systems ignoring the unchanging characteristics of human N25. 948690106045000 ISLAM. Spirit and Form. N26. Nature cannot indefinitely retain their validity. Human nature exceeds any external boundaries imposed upon it. As an example, Western Europe suffered from the pangs of an adulterated Christianity, but in the end they basically eliminated it from their lives and elected to restrict Christianity to inside the boundaries of the Church. Unfortunately, many Christians have left religion in entirety due to the unnatural tendencies of the Christian faith. Furthermore, since believing in a divine being is a natural tendency, some Christians have even started believing in Satan. Islam, on the other hand, takes into consideration the divine nature of man and thus will not be outdated with the passage of time. To give an example, women are more emotional than men and as a consequence they cannot function legally in certain circumstances as witnesses, otherwise justice might not be fulfilled. The commandments of Allah prevent the negative characteristics of man from developing and taking control of him. Beyond this, they assist us in developing positive character traits. Nevertheless, Islam grants us the freedom to organize our lives according to new circumstances in that realm of life subject to change and transformation. This freedom is granted for his own good. There are no definitive rulings as to the changeable aspects of life. Hence, Islam is a religion of realism that addresses the reality of human nature. It is also useful to note that human nature naturally tends towards what is positive rather than negative when it is free of contextual pressure to conform. In order to emphasize this point, the Prophet, J. states that every new born baby is born with an Islamic nature. Bukhari, Janaz, 92. Narrated Abu Huraira. The Prophet said, "Every child is born with a true faith of Islam, i.e. to worship none but Allah alone. And his parents convert him to Judaism or Christianity or Magianism, as an animal delivers a perfect baby animal. Do you find it mutilated?" Bukhari, Volume 2, Book 23, number 467. 8134354089400 as a result of Allah's all-encompassing mercy exceeding His wrath. In general, there is peace and tranquility in the universe. In a forest, we may observe that small and weak animals live side by side with those 123,888,523,177,500. 2802255971550 Islam and its sublime nature that are strong and wild. The same circumstance is true for a human being who is the essence of the universe. Although he may possess both positive and negative qualities, so long as the positive attributes exceed the negative, a condition arises where the negative features are unable to freely manifest themselves outwardly. However, this positive nature is always corrupted by the contextual social influences as discussed in the above hadith of the Prophet, J. Islam, through the way of life it points us toward, works to preserve this untarnished human nature, thereby allowing the spiritual purity that was bestowed to man by Allah the Almighty to shine through. It is understood in Islam that human nature's negative features may not be entirely erased. As an example, instead of permitting the complete freedom of our sexual desires as in the case of some modern psychological systems, Islam organizes our sexual experience within the boundaries of marriage and family in order to preserve human continuity. Islam facilitates the expression of natural desires with the condition of marriage and is thus able to direct our sexual drive towards divine purposes as exemplified in the fostering of good offspring. In relation to the possession of wealth, Islam teaches that everything in reality belongs to Allah. Believers are guided to spend what they have for the benefit of others rather than surrendering themselves to the aim of collecting wealth solely for personal use. Islam directs us to cultivate appreciation and cooperation with others rather than harboring jealousy. In the same way, Islam organizes the intellectual faculties of man. It roots human mental inquiry on a foundation of revelation, for without this support mental reflection is capable of carrying man to ridiculous consequences. It is for this reason that philosophers have always denied each other's realities. Furthermore, in ancient Athens stealing was an appreciable act if the thief did not get caught. The thieves were tolerated and not punished since their theft was a product of high intelligence. Although stealing is a self-evident wrong, this was not intellectually perceived without the help of divine revelation. If the human mind fails to perceive the self-evident, then how can it hope to perceive what is true in even more complex issues? When reason is 4818380209550056324540386000 accepted as the sole judge, then there will be times when both sides end 27. 948690106045000 ISLAM. Spirit and form. N28. Will seem right and justice will not prevail. The following is a good example. In ancient Athens, a student of law had a contract with his professor to be trained as a lawyer. The student would give half of the tuition after his training ended and the other half after he won his first case in court. Nevertheless, the student, after having completed his training with the professor, told him that the first installment he had paid was enough for his services and that he would not pay the second installment even after winning a court case. The professor of law took his student to court for his breach of the agreement. On the day their case was presented to the judge, the professor told the judge, "I will get my payment in either case, whether I lose this case or win it." The judge asked, "How?" The professor explained, "If I win the case, the student will pay my tuition fee as an obligation to fulfill your judgment. If he does not pay, then he will be refusing your verdict, which is impossible. If I lose the case, then my student will be winning it, and according to our agreement I am supposed to take my tuition fee when my student wins his first court case." The student, who had been trained well, said, "On the contrary, I will not pay the tuition fee whether I win the case or lose it." The judge asked him as well to explain his reasoning. He answered, "If I win the case I should not pay him, otherwise it will be against the verdict of this court, and this is not acceptable. If I lose this case, then according to the agreement I should not pay anything according to the agreement between us." As can be seen in the above example, the human mind is capable of reaching absolutely contradictory conclusions with equally acceptable proofs. This is an inevitable consequence if revelation is disregarded. Islam, by emphasizing the significance of respecting the rights of others above all else, brings a different dimension to the relationship between adversaries. Islam teaches man to think about the needs of others more than his own. The hadith where it is stated that those who sleep well when their neighbors are hungry are not from us clearly testifies to this fact. 81,343,524,320,500. In this way Islam made its followers into sharing, caring, and loving brothers and sisters. Before Islam, Arabs were famous for their 123,888,523,177,500. 2802255971550. Islam and its sublime nature. Hatred, enmity, and plundering of other tribes' wealth through bloody wars. They were even so heartless that they used to bury their daughters alive, since they considered girls to be dishonorable. They had never-ending blood feuds. The strong would crush the weak and the law always favored the strong. Describing this horrible social circumstance, Mehmet Akif, the most famous Turkish poet, said, "If a human being had no teeth, his brothers might eat him." However, with the advent of Islam, they rose to be among the most virtuous and noblest people in the world. Those who had earlier been eager to drink each other's blood, with the coming of Islam reached to a status that inspired them to consider the good of the other before their own even at the onset of death. The following incident narrated by Hadrat Hudayfa shows the level of kindness and generosity that the members of the early community attained. Hudayfa was searching the battlefield for survivors at the Battle of Yarmouk. He narrates, "I saw my cousin Harith in a pool of blood. I rushed to him to give him water, but when he was taking the water he heard the voice of Ikrimah. 'Water, a drop of water for the sake of Allah.' Harith pointed his eyes to Ikrimah and withdrew his hand from the water, signifying that I should take the water to him. When I reached him this time we heard the voice of Iyash, 'Water, please water.' Ikrimah, like Harith, did not accept the water and instead pointed me towards Iyash. I rushed to Iyash but he did not have time to drink the water before he gave up his life. Then I rushed back to take the water to Ikrimah but he was also dead by that time. In amazement I ran back to Harith, but unfortunately he had also passed away." 3 warriors, who were about to become martyrs, preferred to give up water offered for drink in favor of sacrificing their chance so that another person could drink first. As a result, not one of them was reached before he took his last breath and each became a martyr without drinking a drop of water. 563245600710048183802178050. This exemplifies the high standards of Islamic morality that became embodied in the lives of its early followers. These same people N29. 948690106045000 ISLAM. Spirit and form. Were more than happy to kill one another for the most simple of Ray's sons during the time of ignorance. Through Islam their hearts were enveloped by a divine mercy and grace to such an extent that their time was later referred to by Muslims as the time of felicity, Asr al-Sa'dah. Allah the Almighty reminds us this great favor in the following verse. "And remember the favor of Allah on you when you were in Mize, then He united your hearts so by His favor you became brethren. And you were on the brink of a pit of fire. Then He saved you from it. Thus does Allah make clear to you His communications that you may follow the right way." Al-Imran, 3-103. This verse addresses all humanity in the person of the companions of the Prophet, J. The same story is true in the case of the Turkish people. Before Islam, their name was not good in the annals of history. Attila left only bloodshed and tears throughout his 7,000 kilometers of campaigns. However, after they were honored with Islam, this nation became one of the noblest nations and full of love and mercy for humanity. Out of this mercy they have addressed their enemies as follows. "You are so cruel, O mercy! You make my enemy lovable to us." N30. The 5 pillars of Islam. As we have stated before, Islam consists of faith and good deeds. According to Islam, man has 2 kinds of obligations towards Allah, one is to have faith and the other is in terms of practice. The obligations of faith are considered before the practical ones. Therefore the Prophet, J, has said, The thing I fear most for my ummah is associating partners to Allah. Musnad, IV, 124,126. 81,343,559,245,500 human beings will be divided into two nations before Allah as believers and non-believers. Faith is rutel in an indivisible unit. In other words, if anyone refuses to believe in any of the principles of faith, it is the same as refusing all of them. All the principles possess 123,888,522,987,000. 2802255971550 Islam and its sublime nature. The same weight, since man has no right to call something wrong which is termed right by Allah. In his state of total weakness, can man reject the omnipotent and omniscient Creator? Without faith, good deeds are of no benefit. In Islam, faith occupies the highest place among necessities. However, faith cannot stand alone without good deeds. Through good deeds it is protected from harm. Islam is like a fruit tree. Faith through the heart is its roots. Declaring faith by tongue is the trunk, and good deeds are as the flowers and fruits of the tree. As fruit are the purpose behind the tree, similarly good deeds are the necessary consequence of faith. Gnosis and proximity to Allah can be gained through good deeds. In other words, Islam is not a matter of belief, it is also a matter of good practice. It is a dangerous path to expect salvation through faith only without having good practice. As a result, 4 out of 5 pillars of Islam are practical principles of good deeds. Only the first pillar of Islam is related to faith alone. It is the profession of faith. The following hadith clearly enumerates the 5 pillars of Islam. Narrated Ibn Umar. Allah's apostle said, Islam is based on the following 5 principles. To testify that none has the right to be worshipped but Allah and Muhammad is Allah's apostle. To offer the compulsory congregational prayers dutifully and perfectly. To pay zakat, i.e. obligatory charity. To perform Hajj, i.e. pilgrimage to Mecca. To observe fast during the month of Ramadan. Bukhari, Volume 1, Book 2, Number 7. However, these 5 principles are not the whole of Islam. They are the main pillars that support the building, but there are also other principles. Islam organizes man's life from the cradle to the grave, both his spiritual and material life as well as his personal and public life. Even a 563245584200048183802006600 cursory study of the Quran and the sayings of the Prophet, J. will show that they cover all aspects of life. The above hadith, however, N31. 948690106045000 ISLAM. Spirit and Form. N32. Provides Muslims with the primary directives that they need to construct their life. Without a building's main pillars, no structure can stand firmly on its foundation. The other principles, however, support these main ones, thus widening the strength of the whole structure. In keeping with this, many other hadiths elucidate additional principles. As an example, the following hadith states, Islam is made out of 8 shares. The first share is believing in Islam, performing salat is 1 share, paying the poor's due is a share, fasting is a share, performing pilgrimage is a share, commanding goodness is a share, refraining from evil is a share, striving in the path of Allah is a share. The commandments of Islam function as the arms of a compass. One point is fixed and other is moving and mobile. This means that obligatory commandments are incumbent, fixed, upon all believers, whereas the supererogatory acts of worship are like the one can freely do these acts as much as he can according to his capacity. Those who have a capacity similar to that of Abu Bakr should do more. It is not correct for them to behave like a weak Muslim. On the other hand, those who do not possess a high capacity like that of Abu Bakr cannot practice Islam as he did. The important principle here is that after having fulfilled the obligatory acts of worship in as perfect of a manner as possible, one should then do the supererogatory acts to the degree possible so as to reach Allah through renunciation of the world. Through doing this we may grow to deserve the role of being Allah's vicegerent on earth. As it is important to understand Islam's apparent rules, so too is it important to understand Islam's hidden spiritual aspects. Allah the Almighty repeatedly informed us of these principles through His Messenger, J. In this way Allah has empowered us to teach Islam in a correct way and has also extended to us the opportunity to practice it to perfection. The following hadith, which is best known as the Hadith of Gabriel, emphasizes this point. As narrated by Umar, may Allah be happy with him. 81,343,523,876,000 inches Umar ibn al-Khattab told me, one day we were sitting in the company of Allah's Apostle, J. when there appeared before us a man. 123,888,521,209,000. 2802255971550 Islam and its sublime nature. 4,818,380,748,347,500 dressed in pure white clothes, his hair extraordinarily black. There were no signs of travel on him. None amongst us recognized him. At last he sat with the Apostle, J. He knelt before him, placed his palms on his thighs and said, Muhammad, inform me about al-Islam. The Messenger of Allah, J. said, Al-Islam implies that you testify that there is no God but Allah and that Muhammad is the Messenger of Allah, and you establish prayer, pay zakat, observe the fast of Ramadan, and perform pilgrimage to the house, if you are solvent enough to bear the expense of the journey. He, the inquirer, said, You have told the truth. He, Umar ibn al-Khattab, said, It amazed us that he would put the question and then he would himself verify the truth. He, the inquirer, said, Inform me about Iman, faith. He, the Holy Prophet, replied, That you affirm your faith in Allah, in His angels, in His books, in His apostles, in the Day of Judgment, and you affirm your faith in the divine decree about good and evil. He, the inquirer, said, You have told the truth. He, the inquirer, again said, Inform me about al-Ihsan, perform acts of good deeds. He, the Holy Prophet, said, That you worship Allah as if you are seeing Him, for though you don't see Him, He, verily, sees you. He, the inquirer, again said, Inform me about the hour of the doom. He, the Holy Prophet, remarked, N 33. 948690106045000 ISLAM. Spirit and Form. N 34. One who is asked knows no more than the one who is inquiring about it. He, the inquirer, said, Tell me some of its indications. He, the Holy Prophet, said, That the slave girl will give birth to her mistress and master, that you will find barefooted, destitute goatherds vying with one another in the construction of magnificent buildings. He, the narrator, Umar ibn al-Khattab, said, Then he, the inquirer, went on his way, but I stayed with him, the Holy Prophet, for a long while. He then said to me, Umar, do you know who this inquirer was? I replied, Allah and His Apostle knows best. He, the Holy Prophet, remarked, He was Gabriel, the angel. He came to you in order to instruct you in matters of religion. In short, Islam is a religion of worshipping the one Allah. Allah the Almighty states in the Quran, I created the jinn and humankind only that they might worship me. Zariyat, 51-56. Allah the Almighty commands His Prophet, J. to inform human ity about this fact. Say, O Muhammad, lo, I am commanded to worship Allah, making religion pure for Him, only. And I am commanded to be the first of those who are Muslims, surrender unto Him. Say, lo, if I should disobey my Lord, I fear the doom of a tremendous day. Say, Allah I worship, making my religion pure for Him, only. Zumar, 39, 11-14. 81,343,561,404,500 Faith in Allah is not a blind, robotic imitation of religious law. It is to worship the Creator of the universe, the owner of life and death, to be happy with His verdict, and to do good deeds in accordance with His will. 123,888,522,860,000. 2802255971550 Islam and its sublime nature. Establishing religion is a privilege only given to prophets. Among all of the world's religions, the sources of Islam have been best preserved. Allah has made the miracle of the Quran valid forever. Islam demolished all myths, all superstitions, and removed any vestige of darkness. In the place of ignorance, Islam established justice, high morality, and brought forth felicity and peace to the world. Islam helps one to discover his true identity and to teach him the secret of the verse. I breathed him from my own soul. Islam polishes the mirror of the heart, prepares it to reach to Allah, adorns it with high morality, and is such a powerful elixir that it transforms the night of death into an object of desire, as in the case of a young man anxiously awaiting his wedding night. Mehmet Akif, looking at the sad situation of Muslims in his time due to their weakness in submitting to Islam, said, "If Muslims do not want to be crushed by the passage of days, they should return to the bosom of Islam." N. 48,183,801,968,535. 14,154,159,398,000. The expression of faith. And its pillars. La ilaha illallah, Muhammad Rasulullah. There is no God but Allah and Muhammad is his messenger. 31356309715500 The expression of faith and its pillars. M. Expressing the profession of faith is the first step in entering the Islamic religion. It is a sentence bearing witness to the oneness and unity of Allah and to the acceptance of Prophet Muhammad, J. as Allah's last messenger. It is the root of religion. It possesses all secrets for the salvation of humanity. It also has many names that demonstrate its significance to Muslims. Kalima al-Tayyibah, the most beautiful words. Kalima al-Taqwa, the enunciation of Allah's awareness. Kaval al-Thabit, the right words. Ma'alid al-Thamavad wa al-Ard, the key to the heavens and the earth. Kalima al-Ilis, the expression of sincerity. And Samanul Jannah, the price of paradise. The profession of faith is the essence of Islam and is the essence of all the religion's other teachings. All details of Islam are dependent on this essence. Hence, it is the best kind of worship to utter these holy words. It is superior to all other kinds of worship. Even the best mode of worship, salat, is incumbent at certain times of the day, whereas the declaration of faith is incumbent at all times upon believers. Faith should always be protected from all sorts of harmful thoughts such as 4818380298450056324541275000 heedlessness. Fasting, salat, and other kinds of worship can be post N39. 948690106045000 ISLAM. Spirit and form. Pond. If there is an obstacle, however, faith can never be postponed regardless of the circumstance. The profession of faith is N40. Ashadu an la ilaha illallah wa ashadu anna Muhammadan abduhu wa rasuluhu. This means that, in order to enter Islam, one should utter these words with his tongue and accept it in his heart. The profession of faith contains all Quranic wisdom and all realities. In other words, the entirety of the Quran is the articulation of these words. The essence of the Quran consists of belief in one Allah, Tawhid. The following verse clearly expresses this reality. This is a clear message for mankind in order that they may be warned thereby, and that they may know that He is only one Allah, and that men of understanding may take heed. Ibrahim, 1452. All praiseworthy acts of the servant of Allah are the consequence and fruit of these beautiful words. The more these words are established in the heart, the more a servant takes pleasure in worship. On the other hand, all acts that attract Allah's wrath are the products of disbelief in these holy words. Allah the Almighty states in the Quran, "Seest thou not how Allah sets forth a parable? A goodly word like a goodly tree, whose root is firmly fixed, and its branches reach to the heavens of its Lord." So Allah sets forth parables for men, in order that they may receive admonition. It brings forth its fruit at all times, by the leave of its Lord. So Allah sets forth parables for men, in order that they may receive admonition. And the parable of an evil word is that of an evil tree. It is torn up by the root from the surface of the earth. It has no stability. Ibrahim, 14:24-26. 81,343,542,989,500. The phrase in the verse, "It brings forth its fruit at all times," is explained by the Prophet J. as the continuous remembrance and mentioning of the names of Allah, Fazil al-Amal. 123,888,523,368,000. 313563097155500. Expression of faith and its pillars. Explaining this verse, Ibn Abbas, may Allah be happy with him, states, this verse points to the word of profession. Its roots are in the heart of the believer and its branches are in the heavens. The good deeds of the believer reach to the heavens. The filthy words are the ones that contain disbelief, and those that associate partners with Allah. No good action is accepted in the absence of faith. Therefore Allah has informed us in the Quran. He indeed shall be successful who purifies himself. Allah, 87-14. The Prophet, J., explains the concept of purification in this verse. Sinker, with profession of words the uttering as ity, and abandoning the worship of idols both internally and external. Li. Fazil Amal, 466. The friends of Allah whose duty is to purify souls from all sorts of vice, act in accordance with the guidance of the above hadith. The idols are not always apparent, sometimes human souls nurture hidden idols such as his animal desires. In the following verse, Allah the Most High condemns such attitudes. Hast thou seen him who maketh his desire his God? Jathiyah, 45-23. One of the duties of the Prophet, J., as revealed in the Quran, is to purify the hearts of human beings from spiritual diseases and to unveil for them the deep dimensions of belief in the unity of Allah. Faith is like a mirror, and if a person is heedless of Allah, this mirror is blurred. A blurred mirror prevents us from receiving and reflecting divine lights. Divine lights only manifest in a believer's heart if the heart is made tender through the mentioning and remembrance of the names of Allah, Zikrullah. Zikr is the opposite of forgetfulness. The tar-nishad nature of the heart is removed through turning to Allah with all sincerity and devotion. The prophets and the friends of Allah invite people to accept the profession of faith which will open the door of heaven and earth for man. The prophets have shared these sweet words with humanity in the best manner through love and mercy. Many blessed people have 4818380266700056324541021000 responded to this call and have tasted the real faith which is sweeter. N41 948690106045000 ISLAM. Spirit and form. Even then Kauthar, fountain in Jannah. They have pioneered carrying the torch of faith. In this vein, let us examine the following verses of Aziz Mahmud Hudai. Obey the commandments of Allah. Come to the unity refresh your faith. Come to the unity Do not look too far into the distance, do not throw your heart into the fire, do not incline to everything you see. Come to the unity Close your eyes to everything other than Allah, expect from Allah whatever you want. Throw your concerns from your heart. Come to the unity What do you think? You who are deceived by the transient, one day you will awaken. Come to the unity Leave blind imitation. Profess the unity of Allah with sincerity, find all your dreams. Come to the unity So do not worship the forms, look at the meanings. Try to be close to the real. Come to the unity 813435869950 N42. Do not believe your carnal soul, do not think that you know. Do not throw yourself into the fire of shirk. Come to the unity 313563097155500 The expression of faith and its pillars. Leave transient loves. Do you ever mention the dead? The traveler continues his travel, do not be late. Come to the unity The profession of faith possesses limitless wisdom. Therefore, the earth, the heavens and everything in them confirm the message of these holy words. Even Allah the Most High bears witness to his unity. Allah bears witness that there is no God but He, and so do the angels and those possessed of knowledge, maintaining His creation with justice. There is no God but He, the Mighty, the Wise. Al-Imran 3:19. The profession of faith possesses four meanings in short. Declaring the existence of Allah. Declaring the attributes of Allah. Declaring the acts of Allah. Declaring the trustworthiness of the Messenger of Allah. The profession of faith is the seal of the Islamic faith and is called Amantu. The 6 pillars of faith are a summary of the entire Islamic belief system. The translation of the Amantu is as follows. I believe in Allah the Most High, in His angels, in His books, in His prophets, in the Day of Judgment, in divine predestination and in the fact that both good and evil occur through the will of Allah, the Supreme Being, and that there will be life after death. I testify that Muhammad, J, is His servant and messenger. When one accepts the 5 pillars of Islam she becomes a Muslim, and when she accepts the 6 pillars of faith she becomes a believer. However, only uttering these words by tongue without accepting it in the heart is not enough to be a believer. In addition to believing in the existence of Allah and the prophethood of Muhammad, J, one also needs to cultivate understanding and practice straightness in life. In other words, our faith should be strong. 481,838,020,002,500 and perfect so that it can carry us to salvation. When we speak about a strong faith, it also includes accepting all the attributes of Allah. N43. 948690106045000 ISLAM. Spirit and Form. Faith in Allah. N44. The human mind cannot fully comprehend the nature of Allah, who has created the sky, the earth, and all things in between them. For this reason, contemplating the essence of Allah generates strange ideas in the imagination of man and damages correct faith. The Prophet, J, has forbidden this kind of contemplation. Contemplate upon the favors, His creation, power and greatness, of Allah, and do not contemplate upon Him, since no one can afford to do that. Kitab al-Arbain. In order to emphasize the limited nature of our mind, the leading Sufis state, O my Lord, you are as you are above our perception and our information about you. Perceiving the nature of Allah is beyond the range of our power. However, it is possible for the human mind to deduce from cause to the causer, from art to the artist, from results to the causes. If the human mind, with a clean perception and a good will, looks at the attributes and acts of Allah, it is unthinkable that it will reject belief in Allah. Rejection of faith is the consequence of a sick mind and mentally tie. If the purity of mind and heart can be preserved, it will guard man from the rejection of faith. Even those who have been born in disbelieving societies can discover true faith, as may be seen in the example of Prophet Abraham. A.S. So long as they have purity of heart. Although Abraham, A.S. was born in a society that believed in idols, through his intellect and heart he was led to the true faith and entered belief in the unity of Allah. Believing is easier than disbelief. Affirming that there is no creator will not resolve the issues surrounding the origin of the world, of life and of death. The condition of disbelief resembles a person who is hungry and does not feel the pain of his hunger due to a nervous breakdown, or a person who is drugged and does not feel the pain of the cutting knife. The Quran terms such people as deaf and dumb. 81,343,523,812,500 Allah the Almighty created man's nature and bestowed in it the need for belief in Allah and the search for truth. There is no exception. 123,888,523,114,000. 313563097155000 The expression of faith and its pillars. To this divine planning. If this does not happen, it is due to spiritual blindness and dumbness. Our subconscious faith is blocked by the weight of material life, as in our inability to remember our dreams. Both in heavenly religions and in man-made religions there is a conception of belief in Allah. However, the concept of Allah in man-made religions has significantly deviated from the correct faith where Allah is the only creator of the universe, where He transcends all weaknesses and human attributes and instead possesses the most perfect of attributes. These attributes have been revealed to us through the Prophet J, and are beyond alteration. According to the common division adhered to by scholars, the list of Allah's most important attributes are as follows. Allah's existence. There exists Allah and his existence depends on nothing. Thus, he is self-existent. There is no probability of him being non-existent, and all things, apart from him, are his creatures and their existence is a potentiality. Their existence is not necessary. It is declared in the Quran. There is no God but he, the living, the self-subsisting, eternal. No slumber can seize him nor sleep. Heavens and on earth. Baqarah, 2-155. His are all things in the 4,818,380,192,024,000. It is an obvious fact that there exists an impeccable order and coherence in this immense universe. This coherent order has been running in a well-balanced and delicate way since the universe came into being. It is a known fact that if the Earth had not had a 23.5-degree angle of pitch, seasons would not have come about. In that case, one part of the Earth would have been in winter, and the other part in summer. Likewise, should the distance between the Earth and the Sun had been just a little bit longer, the Earth as a whole would have turned into a frozen region. Or should the distance between the two had been a little bit of shorter, the Earth would have been turned into ashes. These and such like states of affairs demonstrate the fact that all celestial bodies are so wisely tuned into a program so that life becomes possible. N45. 948690106045000 ISLAM. Spirit and Form. N46. Such a mechanism of perfection and delicacy presents a sign for the existence and oneness, magnificence and omnipotence of the Creator of the universe. It is declared in the Quran. And the firmament has he raised high, and he has set up the balance of justice. Rahman, 55-7. He who created the 7 heavens one above another. No want of proportion will you see in the creation of Allah, most gracious. So turn your vision again. Saw you any flaw? Again turn your vision a second time. Your vision will come back to you dull and discomforted, in a state worn out. Mulk, 3-4. If a farmer saw that the plants in his farm were irregularly chopped down, he would attribute what happened to his farm to the acts of the storm or another natural disaster. However, if he noticed that the plants were chopped down regularly, for example 1 in 3 or 5 plants, he would not attribute what happened to his farm to a natural disaster. He would realize that this action was taken by a conscious and potent being. He would think that this action might have been taken by one of his enemies. In that case, he is supposed to ask how the perfect and delicate mechanism of the universe can take place by chance, while he does not accept that such a tiny action as chopping the plants down can happen by chance. Najib Fadıl, the famous Turkish poet, calls to those who lapse into such unawareness. I see that I am wrapped all round. Does not a wrapped one require a wrapper? Who is this craftsman drawing this human face? Does not anyone ask looking at the mirror? Jalal al-Din al-Rumi calls for the awakening of the eyes and the hearts by opening out the doors of wisdom and meditation. As you see the movement of the millstone, you had better make more effort to see the water of the river that makes it move. You see the dust in the air, you had better give a look at the storm that takes it up. 8,134,355,588,000 inches. You see the pot boiling, you also look at the fire with foresight. 123,888,522,923,500. 313563097155500. The expression of faith and its pillars. Tell me, O foolish one, which is logical? Do those palaces and dwellings have a builder, or do they not have a builder? Tell me, O my son, which is logical? Do those writings on the walls and the pages have a writer, or do they not have a writer? O son of Adam, could you ever point to a single thing that came into being on its own? See what happens when you root out a plant from its soil. Do you think it vegetates by itself? The poet puts this point into words so elegantly. Should this place have come into being by itself, this caravan would arise by itself as well. The chimneys on the roofs tell you that there is no fire, no smoke. Should there exist no power, Would the universe turn round by itself? Should once the gardener leave the vineyard on its own, would the wheat be resolvable from the straw on its own? When the soil is thirsty for water, the cloud in the sky tells the eye, is there a river flowing on its own? Whoever says that he had not seen behind the curtain, his lie will turn into a snake on its own. Satan would be ready to pour tar over the light. And he would say to the conscience, believe only on your own. The tongue asked Mehmedi to appreciate his own heart. Without it the tongue does not run on its own. 563245534670048183801517650. Any naturally disposed will and heart consciously realizes that there exists a chain of causes and all these depend on the great N47. 948690106045000 ISLAM. Spirit and Form. N48. Producer of all secondary causes, the Allah, and hence believe in Allah. However, Satan lays many traps at every corner in order to lead astray the humans in their thoughts. Jalal al-Din al-Rumi warns humans not to be deceived by the tricks of Satan. Do not be deceived by Satan in this matter of belief. Satan is so wise a thief that he keeps a good lookout for dark nights to come to you, and when he seizes the opportunity he knocks at your door. Then you want to answer the door to see who it is with the cresset in your hand. And every time you try to light the cresset Satan puts out the spunk by seizing it. Hence you cannot see who it is and you judge that the spunk has become moist. Thus you stay unaware of the thief who puts out the lighter. So, Satan, in this way, interferes with your belief cresset in the darkness of oversight. Therefore, Satan walks away with the virtues of your heart and makes you bankrupt of the afterlife. In this manner, you stay unaware of both the creation and the Creator. As declared in the Quran in the words, "Those truly fear Allah, among His servants, who have knowledge." Fatir, 35:28. The cognizance of the grandeur and the magnificence of Allah adequately is, above all, a matter of knowledge, science. The following account of Einstein illustrates this reality. The Creator of the universe does not play dice. His creation is not random and uncounted. We observe, as much as we can, the balance and harmony of this world with admiration. I may say that anybody who explores nature enjoys a religious respect as he discovers the grandeur of Allah. Accordingly, I cannot think of a true scientist who does not have a profound faith. This fact may be articulated as follows. It is impossible to have faith in science having no religion. So, a religion with no knoll edge, science, is blind, and knowledge, science, with no religion is lame. Thus, many non-Muslim scientists embraced Islam and many, though not embracing Islam, perceived that they had to concede to the greatness of Allah. This is a miracle of the Quran. Allah says, 81,343,556,642,000 inches, and those to whom knowledge has come see that the revelation, sent down to you from your Lord, that is the truth, and that it guides to the path of the exalted, in might, worthy of all praise. Saba, 34-6. 123,888,523,177,500. 313563097155500. Expression of faith and its pillars. Soon will we show them our signs in the furthest regions of the earth, and in their own souls, until it becomes manifest to them that this is the truth. Is it not enough that your Lord does witness all things? Fussilat, 41:53. Anybody who looks at the universe taking it as a lesson beholds the countless signs mentioned in this verse. If there only existed humans and animals in the world, they would use up all the oxygen by turning it into carbon dioxide, and in a short time they would be poisoned and perish by the increasing amount of carbon dioxide. However, the might that called the universe into being also created the plants, endowing them with the ability to use carbon dioxide, turning it into oxygen so that the universe could keep running in equilibrium. On the other hand, the Creator filled 3/4 of the earth with water. And He created the great majority of the remaining 1/4 in the form of infertile deserts and rocks. The earthy part of the world is only a small part. However, the Most High Allah transforms this earthy part from one form to another so that it could be a source to feed all living beings. 4,818,380,274,510,500. Let us examine a species of an animal. If all the past, the present and the future members of this species had been sent down to Earth at once, the space and the sustenance of the world would not have been sufficient for even this single species. However, Allah creates them in an order of time and space sequence. The same point is valid for all living creatures. So, the world, with the mystery of time and space, may sustain 1,000,000,000,000 times more loading. Namely, the existence of the creatures in the universe is subject to an equilibrium and limitation. For example, it is a known fact that a plane tree breeds millions of seeds, and these seeds are sent away through the wind as if they all have a parachute made of feathers. Should the seeds of even a single plane tree have the opportunity to be a new plant, all fertile parts of the world would soon be infested with plane trees. Namely, the world would become not spacious enough for even a single tree. This example may be extended to all creatures. This fact points out to the existence of an impenetrable harmony and balance in the universe. N49. 948690106045000 ISLAM. Spirit and Form. Besides, the most supreme being endowed all living creatures with such features that even those who live on the same sort of foods produce different products, and these complement one another in order to make life entirely possible. For example, a cow or a sheep eats the leaf of a mulberry, and it produces milk and wool. But a silkworm produces silk, and a musk deer breeds musk from the same leaf. The bee produces honey from pollens, but the human being, who is considered to be the most perfect creature, has no ability to produce honey as the bee does. The colors, odors, and the lively leaves that various flowers draw out from the nutrients of the soil are the qualities that no chemist is able to exactly produce. While an animal is able to transform the grass into meat and milk, the human being is not able to produce just a piece of meat or milk from tons of grass in chemical laboratories. N50. Any sensible human is supposed to see the existence and magnify sense of Allah wherever He turns in the universe. The qualities such as sending prophets and perfecting humans with their knowledge and morality are the works of divine grace. In addition, when the human being takes a look at himself, herself and the universe intellectually, he immediately understands how ridiculous and laughable that it becomes to disbelieve in the face of its grandeur and magnificence. The poet puts this point into words so nicely. Many meanings distilled through the endless systems. The signs of Allah will always be in the heart of Adam. What a transcendent fact! The earth and the sky have no pillars, there is no particle with no scale. With the endless space above, and the black ground beneath. O you servant, what behooves you is to prostrate on the prayer rug. Surely, this infinite universe is a sign for the existence and the grandeur of Allah. It is a gleam of faith. 81,343,524,511,000 The sky has black and white holes. This is a new finding of the positive sciences. Yet we find Allah swear to these holes in the Holy Quran. 123,888,522,606,000. 313563097155500 The expression of faith and its pillars. Furthermore, I call to witness the setting of the stars, and that is indeed a mighty adjuration if you but knew. Wikia, 56, 75-76. This reality that contemporary science has just now discovered illustrates the magnificence facing us. The spot where stars are born is called a white hole, and the spot where they die is called a black hole. A small object comes through the white hole and instantly gets expanded 1,000,000,000,000 times bigger than its actual size to bring forth a giant constellation. And many stars that are much more bigger than our world die in due course by drawing into the black holes. Accordingly, the sun that light ends our sky will, one day, be exposed to the fact of, when the sun, with its spacious light, is folded up. Takwir, 81, 1. That day the sun will come to an end as well. No wonder that day is the doomsday. It is the end of everything. And there is no way except turning to Allah by prostration. In short, those who are vigilant perceive that this world, in the face of the divine grandeur, is only a dust among trillions of dust particles in space. Among them are the mountains, plains, oceans, and humans. With this impotence, man is nothing but for his servitude. This example of the human's position, of being only a drop from the oceans, requires the logical perception of a Allah who is all-powerful, almighty, self-existent, and provider of the needs of men and beasts. However, in order to be able to perceive this reality, one needs to have his, her heart open. It is stated in the Quran, "Do they not travel through the land, so that their hearts, and minds, may thus learn wisdom and their ears may thus learn to hear? Truly it is not their eyes that are blind, but their hearts which are in their breasts." Hajj 22:46. Ibrahim Haki of Erzurum puts this point into words so wisely. Those who are aware can see, but those who are blind cannot. Yunus Emre says, "The true path takes you to the right place, the real eye leads you to perceive Allah." 4818380895350056324547244000N51 948690106045000 ISLAM, Spirit and Form. N52. Allah is watching everywhere, but it requires an eye to see. The earth and the sky bear many clear evidences to the existence of Allah, and this reality needs no explanation. Men of Allah taste this reality with all qualities of their hearts. Their souls sense the divine secrets as they throw over the earthlings. Those who can manage the act of self-denial in accordance with the hadith, "Die before your death," are to rise in the springtime of reality. They wriggle themselves out of metaphoric beings and live in the spirit of the Prophet. They never ever have a doubt about truth and reality. This exam. PLE clearly illustrates this fact. Junaid al-Baghdadi, one of the great saints, asked the people around who were running somewhere with a rush, "Where are you going? Why is this hurry?" They replied, "We were told that there came a scholar from somewhere. He has the ability to explain the existence of Allah with 1,001 evidence. We are going to benefit from his explanations. You may come, if you like." Upon hearing this, Junaid al-Baghdadi told them with a sour smile, "There are countless signs and evidences in the universe for the eyes to see, and the hearts to feel. There are innumerable testimonies indicating the existence of Allah. O people, despite all the evidence, let those of you who still have doubts go. My heart has no scrap of doubt." Thus, those people with spiritual knowledge explain this point as follows. Allah is never a hidden being. However, it may be said that Allah is hidden from our vision because human beings cannot bear the power of the sight of him. 81,343,557,912,000 Namely, if a room had a bulb of 5,000 volts, human eyes would not be able to see anything under so powerful a voltage. Just as in this example, the vision of Allah is so powerful, and for this the vision of Allah remains hidden to human beings. Namely, human beings have 123,888,522,923,500 313563097155500 The expression of faith and its pillars. No ability to see Allah with their biological eyes. That is why Allah told the Prophet Musa, "By no means can you see me, direct." Araf 7-143. Eternal existence in the past. It is a logical prerequisite that all creatures came into being from a priori cause on a reason and result basis. This a priori cause, being, needs not be created, yet, on the contrary, it should be able to create. So, this a priori cause is Allah Almighty. This is the being whom human beings call Allah. There is no beginning to his high being. It is he, who is the beginning of everything. He had eternal existence in the past. It is stated in the Quran. He is the first and the last, the evident and the imminent. Hadid 57-3. In the beginning there existed Allah, nothing existed before him. Bukhari. The Prophet, used to say in his prayers, "Oh, my Lord! You are the beginning, and nothing existed before you." Muslim 61, and he advised Muslims to pray with these words. Eternity. Allah has no ending, he is eternal. The Quran states that, "And call not, besides Allah, on another God. There is no God. But he, everything that exists, will perish except his own face." 2. Him belongs to command, and to him back. Cassis 28-88. Will you, all, be brought? All that is on earth will perish, but will abide, forever, the face of your Lord, full of majesty, bounty and honor. Rahman, 55-26, 27. Nothing in this world has the attribution of eternity. That is why, everything in this world lives a life on a time-sharing basis, because Allah assigned this attribution, eternity, only to himself and made all creation transitory. 481,838,042,227,500 The epitaph of, "It is only He, who is eternal," written on Muslims' tombstones signifies this fact. Yunus Emre reminds us of the fact that everything except for Allah is transitory. N53. 948690106045000 ISLAM. Spirit and Form. Show me a construction that has no ruinous end. Gather all your belongings, that all you leave behind. Therefore, men of Allah do not care about this world and long for reaching the state of annihilation in Allah. These wise men, women do not fall for the transitory delights and involvements of this world, and they, being in the secret of the principle of die before your death, set forth on a journey to the season of eternity. Believing that it is the flesh that perishes, not the soul, they throw off the bodily enslavement and go on a journey of the heart. Finally, they reach Allah and say, I have found the most beloved one, let my life be sacrificed. N54. The unity of Allah. The fact that the universe keeps running in a great harmony and order since it was created is enough to indicate that everything is only the work of a single force. If this force had partners, harmony and the order of the universe would be damaged due to the differences among them, and the chaotic atmosphere would make the life impossible. It is stated in the Quran. Allah has said, take not, for worship, two gods. For He is just one Allah. Then fear me, and me alone. Nahl, 26-51. Say, if there had been other gods with him, as they say, behold, they would certainly have sought out a way to the Lord of the throne. Isra, 1742. If there were, in the heavens and the earth, other gods besides Allah, there would have been confusion in both. But glory to Allah, the Lord of the throne. High is He, above what they attribute to Him. Anbiya, 21-22. 81,343,524,955,500. Nor is there any God along with Him. If there were many gods, behold, each Allah would have taken away what He had created. 123,888,522,542,500. 313563097155500 The expression of faith and its pillars. Ed. And some would have lorded it over others. Glory to Allah, He is free from the sort of things they attribute to Him. Mu'minin, 23:91. If the Quran is examined in depth, it will be seen that the most important ability that Allah enjoins on His servants is the belief in His attributes. Among these attributes, the belief in the unity of Allah is the most sensitive one. So much so, that attributing a partner to Allah is ranked as the prime sin that incites Allah's wrath in Islam. The Quran warns and advises people not to fall into this kind of intellectual poverty. Whoever joins other gods with Allah, Allah will forbid him the garden, and the fire will be his abode. There will for the wrongdoers be no one to help. Maida, 5-72. But it has already been revealed to you, as it was to those before you. If you were to join gods with Allah, truly fruitless will they be your work in life, and you will surely be in the ranks of those who lose all spiritual good. Zumar, 39-65. Allah forgives not that partners should be set up with Him, but He forgives anything else, to whom He pleases. To set up partners with Allah is to devise a sin most heinous indeed. Nisa, 4:48. Other religions of revelation were the same as Islam in their original form, but they were subsequently distorted, moving away from the basics. Among them, the manipulation exercised on Christianity is highly remarkable. The belief in the unity of Allah in Christianity was terribly changed at the end of the 5th century, and the belief in the absolute unity and oneness of Allah was replaced with that of the Trinity. However, religiously sophisticated people of our time do not support this unreasonable belief and dissociate themselves from the Church. Therefore, the papacy today has started scholarly work in order to have Christianity revert to properly expressing its original belief in the unity of Allah. 481,838,060,833,000 Allah is 1. And this statement is clear enough to indicate that there is no probability to have a second God. The poet articulates the oneness of Allah with these words: "It is only Him that exists. He is one on His own, He is the only one." N55. 948690106045000 ISLAM. Spirit and Form. N56. Hence, the belief in the unity of Allah should be clear enough not to regard a second being as possible. Islam requires and enjoins such a kind of belief in the unity of Allah. This is the first step in coming under the religion of Islam. Many doors of Allah's mercy, blessing, grace, and beneficence are unfolded to those who take a worthy step in this way. Thus, Bilal I-Habashi, may Allah be pleased with him, endured the severe torture by the idolaters to have him return to idolatry, and with a great ecstasy of faith he replied to them by uttering the words, Ahad, Ahad, one, one. Allah is one. In return for his forbearance he was given the honor of being the chief muezzin, caller to prayer, of the Prophet. Even a scrap of deficiency in the matter of faith cannot be recovered by many virtuous acts. This may be likened to the position of somebody who appreciates many favors towards him, but cannot bear any insult towards his honor. So, blasphemy is nothing but a violation of the glory of Allah. It is a villainy committed against Allah's majesty. It is for this reason that it is regarded as unforgivable. Therefore, faith is the primary act that Allah demands, and then comes pious work. During the Battle of Uhud, a courageous man named Amr bin Sabit came into the presence of the Prophet, to embrace Islam, but when he witnessed the intensity of the battle he asked the Prophet, whether he should join the battle first or pronounce his faith in one Allah. The Prophet told him, "Pronounce your faith first, join the battle afterwards." Amr bin Sabit followed what the Prophet, told him. After the battle, when the Prophet, saw his body among the martyrs, he said, "He worked little, but gained a lot." Ramazanolu Mahmud Sami, Ahad Ghazvesi, 35. Unity requires pronouncing Allah to be the one soul and unique without a partner. It is the denial of duality. It is a palace of faith that offers humans the most excellent throne. Yunus Emre puts this point into words so nicely. We need the palace of unity. 8,134,352,540,000 An announcement of good tidings. 123,888,522,987,000. 313563097155500 Expression of faith and its pillars. Wangle out of the idea of duality, and your ego, the servant. As unity is an attribute that belongs to the glory of Allah, favoring it with Allah is effectual in having one's prayers answered. The Prophet, used to advise his companions to favor Allah's attributes, the unity, so that their prayer could be accepted. Ubayd bin Samit narrates from the Prophet, Let those who awake in the night invoke these words, there is no deity apart from Allah. He is one and has no partner. Dominion is in his hands, and all praises belong to him. He is almighty. He is exempt from any unworthy thing, and he is great. All due strength and vitality for prayers and devotions are from Allah. The Prophet, proceeded. If the person says, O my Lord, please forgive me, or if he invokes another prayer, or if he makes ablution and says her prayers are answered. Bukhari, Tahajjud, 21. The Prophet, also said, whoever feels that he needs Allah's help, let him, make ablution first and then make 2 units of prayer. Let him, praise Allah and pronounce the formula calling Allah's benediction on the Prophet, and then invoke a prayer as follows. There is no deity, but the clement and the generous Allah. The Allah of the great universe is exempt from any unworthy thing, and all praises belong to him. Oh, my Lord, I beseech you to incur the occasions for me to have your forgiveness, and save me from all sorts of sins. And I wish to gain safety from all sorts of wealth and favors. Please let none of my sins and shortcomings remain. Oh, my Lord, the most compassionate and the most merciful, let me perform the actions that you approve. Tirmizi, WITR, 17. 48183803949700 The uniqueness of Allah. Allah is not to be equal to anything. He does not bear resemblance to any creature. He is, therefore, exempt from any anthropomorphic attribute. N57. 9486901060450 ISLAM. Spirit and Form. One of the controversial points in the distorted religions today has to do with this point. These religions have gone astray, leaving aside such attributes of Allah as being transcendent, being beyond imagination and perception, and they have attributed many anthropomorphic features to Allah in their books in accordance with their own imagination. They have even attributed features such as forgetfulness, exhaustion, repentance, oversight, and confusion. According to them, for example, Allah gives orders regarding a flood, but he later forgets them. Just then he sees that everywhere is covered with water. Only by then does he remember his order, and after making sure that all creatures are in the ark, he hastily closes the door of the ark himself. Yet again, according to their books, the prophet Jacob wrestles with Allah and he subjugates Allah. In addition to these unreasonable expressions, it is known that the Jews called Uzair a son of Allah, and the Christians called Christ the son of Allah. Tawbah 9:30. Allah says in the Quran regarding their attempt to believe in their own imagination, "No just estimate have they made of Allah, such as is due to him. On the day of judgment the whole earth will be but his handful, and the heavens will be rolled up in his right hand. Glory to him. High is he above the partners they attribute to him." Zumar, 39-67. There is nothing whatever like unto him, and he is the one that hears and sees all things. Shura, 42-11. N58. Say, He is Allah, the one and only, Allah the eternal absolute, he begets not, nor is he begotten, and there is none like unto him. Ikhlas, 112, 1-4. When the Prophet heard someone praying, "Oh, my Lord, you are one and only, you do not beget nor are you begotten, you are not to be equal. I appeal for your mercy. Please, forgive my sins, you are all forgiving and all merciful," he said. 81,343,522,288,500 inches he was forgiven. He was forgiven. He was forgiven. Abu Dawud, Salat, 179. 123,888,523,050,500. 3135630971550 The expression of faith and its pillars. Yunus Emre, who knows this good news, takes refuge in Allah with the following words: Allah the Almighty, there is none like unto you. Please forgive our sins. You are the most merciful.